Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy.
And here we are recording on a Sunday night, the end of the week. However, we are bringing you a brand new No Name Music Cast episode.
That you won't get for 2, 3, I don't even know how many weeks down the road. And it won't be on a Sunday, but there you go.
Yeah, well, I like to have some in the bank. So if for whatever reason we can't record, you always get your No Name Music Cast every single week.
Well, we're getting ready to go into the holidays, so we'll have to add some extras for you guys.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, before we get into the topic, and it's my turn this week, I just have a couple of things I wanted to just discuss. So I have some music news and I have some personal items, but I'm going to come to the personal ones first. So first things first, as everybody knows, I play guitar. And I play guitar on a reasonably regular basis. Now,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I had a gig on Friday. It went very well. It was nice to play. And this morning, I was installing solar lighting in our little front garden, like you do. Mm-hmm. And they have like these spear things with like a metal cylinder. And you put the metal cylinder on the spear, and then you put the spear in the ground. So I'm putting them in and I'm lining them up. Everything's pretty good. And then one of them, I pushed it in and it wouldn't go in. So when I pulled it out, and then the plastic spear thing was stuck in the ground. So, that's weird. Pulled the plastic spear thing out, put it in the ground where it was softer, held the plastic spear thing in place, pushed this metal cylinder down, and sliced a massive U-shaped slice in my first finger.
That's not useful for playing the guitar.
No, and for all of our listeners out there, it's on your first finger where the fingerprint area is. Now, I have a plaster or Band-Aid, depending on where you are in the world, on my finger right now, and I've tried playing it. Stopped hurting. And honestly, it bled and bled and bled. I thought
fingertips do that.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to get a stitch in it. It was that bad. So anyway, it's stopped bleeding and it stopped hurting. I have a plaster on it. And I've just been playing some guitar just now, and I can do it. But there's some things that you do, like double stops. It's exactly in where that pad of that finger is, and it was started to hurt again. So I have a gig on Wednesday. This is Sunday. I have a gig on Wednesday, a nice fancy gig in a downtown place in Roanoke. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to put super glue all over my fingertip and then just hope for the best.
I was going to say, it's super glue it or something. That's all you can do, really.
It feels weird with super glue on your finger. I've done that before with like little finger cuts. But I mean, it'll get me through the gig. I mean, I'm hoping by the time we get to Wednesday, it would have healed a little bit.
Well, and if it's such a small stitch, even if you went and got stitches, they probably would just do a glue it at the hospital, which is just medical grade super glue, in case anybody didn't know. I mean, my doctor will tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose super glue, even the stuff that you just buy in the shop, is probably sterile, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's about the same as what he said when I talked to him about that, because I injured myself enough that I'm very familiar with the ins and outs of what they do when you get injured.
I was going to say, it's probably something that you're aware of with your various injuries.
Yeah, I still have the burn mark from the last time we recorded that has been driving me. It's like, you guys can't see this. I don't know why I'm showing you this, because this is not a visual podcast, but for Tim to see, I don't know what size you would compare that to, but that's about how big the burn is on my stomach. It's like the length of your finger. Yeah,
that is not good at all. You with your burn, me with my lacerated finger.
We're not going into 2025 looking too gray here, Tim. We got to get it together.
So anyhow, just think of me on Wednesday when I've got my first finger caked in glue. I'm sure I'll just take some plasters with me. I'll take some glue with me. I think it will be fine.
I tried to play the ukulele with just a paper cut, and that hurt. So I can't even imagine. And it's not like I play anywhere near what Tim's going to be playing. So good luck, buddy.
Yeah, I've got 3.5 hours of music to play.
Yeah, I'm talking about like doing a song sitting in my kitchen. That hurts. So I don't even want to. No.
Well, it's not even so much the pain. What my worry about is playing the gig and then the thing starts gushing
bleeding
blood
all
again.
over. That's the other thing I was thinking too.
That's the problem. That's the thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Well, one time I remember when I worked at Food Lion, I used to work in the deli, and I cut the top of my finger off on the deli slicer while I was cutting someone's food. And the lady just looked at me, and I was like, I'll be right back. And she was like, what? And I held up my hand, and there was just blood. And she was like, oh, okay. And she just walked away.
Oh.
I guess she decided she didn't want to get any food. She didn't even see if I was okay. And I was like, all right, bye. Like
Goodness me.
what? But anyway, all right, what's your next bit of news there, Tim?
Well, the other bit of news is that I've got involved with another band.
Oh, okay.
So I'm still a member of Flagger Hill. Flagger Hill have decided for 2025 they are going to sort of reduce the schedule considerably. Most of the time we're playing every weekend, and sometimes we're playing twice on a weekend. But they've decided for 2025 that they want to reduce the schedule and only play a very small handful of gigs. So that's really going to be once a month or once every 6 weeks or something like that. So I was, a friend of mine told me about a band that was looking for a guitar player. They're based in Dublin, Virginia. They're called Nightwings, and they're a sort of variety band. They don't seem to play many of the places that Flagger Hill does, so it'll be interesting to play some of the venues I used to play a number of years ago. So I went and jammed with them. They seemed like incredibly nice people, and I got some practices lined up, and then they already gave me 11 gigs for 2025.
Well, look at you, Tim. I knew
Yeah.
you were going to audition, so I figured we'd be getting an update.
Yeah, it's tough finding a half decent band in this area. You know, if you lived in a big city, even
Yeah.
if you lived in like Raleigh or somewhere like that, or I don't know, some of the places like where my friend Kirk lives in North Carolina, there's so many more bands that operate. But round here, it's very slim pickings. So to find a good band and find a band that's out there playing regularly is very rare.
Yeah, and the few that I know of, I feel like are the only ones anybody. You know what I mean? There's two or three in our area, Tim, and then it's like a dead zone.
Exactly.
That's about it.
So,
Well, I'm happy for you, Tim. I'm glad you passed your audition.
well, thank you. I'm very lucky to have this opportunity. My goal is to keep both of those operations running together. I think Flagger Hill mostly plays on Fridays, it seems, certainly the venues that they want to keep on playing. And the people in Nightwing said they only play on Saturdays and occasionally on Sundays. So I'm hoping with my calendar juggling skills, I can balance it out and keep both going.
Who knew Tim had such a broad social calendar?
Well, my social calendar is being at the Dublin Moose Lodge on March 31st or something. That's what my social calendar is.
I know. I'm just kidding. Some of the places I have to laugh though, because for those who don't know the places Tim's playing in, they're very specific. That's why I find it funny when we've talked about on this podcast, people like taking like I'm not going to name names or put anyone on the spot. We've talked about Tim, like people worrying about, oh, is that the proper chord progression? And is that exactly how it's played? And Tim's like, I'm playing at the Moose Lodge. I don't think it matters.
I mean, you want to do a good job, you want to give your best performance, but nitpicking about, well, it should be an E chord play there, and it'd be better if it's an E chord play there. We're not playing in Nashville. We're playing in
Carnegie Hall's not calling.
Yeah, we're playing in a Southwest Virginia Moose Lodge, and you're putting on a show for people. It's
They just want to have
fine.
fun. It's not a bad thing. They just want to have fun, and it's not that serious. If Footloose had one chord out of place.
Exactly.
But anyway, I digress.
But there we are. Okay, so I have one other music news item that's not a me news item. So Sammy Hagar, 76-year-old Sammy Hagar, he can't stop. Well, as everybody knows, I saw him on my birthday in Vegas for his birthday bash. And he played two shows in Vegas and two shows in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. He'd recently, during the summer, done the Best of All Worlds tour, which is effectively his era of Van Halen, but with Joe Satriani playing guitar.
Yeah.
But they had so much fun with this band.
Okay.
They're recording an album. Well, certainly recorded one song, but they're talking about recording an album. And they're going back out on tour again.
Well, I mean, you got to go. I can't blame them. Plus, money is money.
Absolutely. Well, they're doing a Vegas residency.
Of course. Well, it's kind of weird that you said that, Tim, because that's going to lead right into my music news. But anyway, continue.
There we are. Well, he's going to be playing at the Dolby Live Theatre at the Park MGM. And he's got a number of dates there books in April and May of next year. So I probably won't be going to that. We are talking about another Vegas trip, maybe next year at some point, but probably be later on in the year. It won't be sort of in April, May, because it starts to get a little bit hot as you get into the summer, and plus we haven't finished paying for the Las Vegas trip, so it's all good. But I would say if there are any redheads in the audience, as the Sammy Hagar fans are called, I think you should make your way to Vegas because you're in for a treat.
And if you've never been to Vegas, as me and Tim kind of talked about, it doesn't even feel like real. You'll just feel like you're in a fever dream the entire time. It's fun.
It is, and it's like every resort town in the United States times 100,000.
I mean, but like, I just find it funny. So, for those who, spoiler alert, I'm assuming Tim has heard that the government says there are aliens in the ocean, right? You've heard about this headline, yes?
At this point, yes.
Okay, so anyways, apparently there are aliens in the ocean. But I just always think about like if aliens came to Earth, or I guess came out of the ocean, whatever they're doing down there, hanging out with the line that brings us all the internet. Apparently, a lot of people don't know that the internet is a line underneath the ocean.
Yeah,
But anyway,
it's
yeah,
those sub, what do they call them, subaqua cables or whatever,
yeah.
like huge big bundles of fiber optic cable that connect the continents. And there's maybe a dozen cables that connect us with Africa or something like that. And you break those 12 cables and the internet stops.
So that's scary. But anyway, so those aliens down there with the cables, I just imagine like if they came up and they go around the world and they're like, this place is kind of cool. But then they end up in Vegas and they're like, where am I? Like, what? This is weird. But anyway, but yeah, for those, spoiler alert, if anyone hasn't seen it, something about aliens in the ocean. I don't know. And nothing surprises me anymore, Tim.
Exactly.
But I digress. So I have a bit of personal news and a bit of music news, but I'll go into my music news because it leads kind of right out of what Charlie was just saying. My music news is that Adele, last Saturday, it played her 100th and final show in her Vegas residency in Caesar Palace.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, I don't like Adele's music. It's not really anything I would listen to. I just don't like the fact that she has not been good to her crew. And she has thrown her crew under the bus on numerous occasions, and she also cancelled Wembley Stadium a couple of times as well. Weird. I just get the sense that Adele has got ideas above her station. I mean, she's successful, but I don't know. I don't get a good feeling about Adele.
So I think there's a couple of things because when looking at her talking about leaving and like all these different things and stuff like that, she had a lot of people just saying I think she just kind of got tired of performing because she's doing the exact same show every Friday and Saturday night. And she straight up says she's burned out of doing this and she wants to go back to school. Apparently, she wants to go and study something English literature or something. I don't know. And so that would have been her goal if she wasn't a singer. And that, she's played 100 shows. But I find it kind of funny. And I know that we all say this from a different standpoint, but I've been in musical theater before. I performed, and I understand that you might get burnt out of doing the same thing. I know that music theater isn't a concert, but when you're at a concert at her level, it kind of is like musical theater in a way. A lot of these shows are choreographed and set up in such a way that they happen the same way over and over and over again on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so I could understand getting burnt out, but like the rest of us have to work every day, Tim.
Sure.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Like, it's just kind of weird to me. But maybe there's just something underlining there that we don't know about. It's always very possible. I know she did have some, like, she got divorced and different things happened in her personal life, so it's going to be affecting it. But yeah, 100 years at Caesar's Palace. Or 100 years, 100 shows at Caesar Palace. 100 years would be way worse. I would see why she was complaining. But they said it's been 2 years.
Well, there we are. Well, the thing is, I mean, just doing a back of a cigarette packet calculation, I've played 30 gigs this year, 35 gigs this year, and I've gone to work Monday through Friday. And also done all the things that people do when you own a home.
And you record a podcast once a week with me.
And, wheel the bin to the end of the road and pick up your stuff from Kroger and had work sometimes run over. And then sometimes have to be at work early and sometimes have to be at work late. And all the things that a normal working person would do who owns a home. And I've done 35, 40 gigs. I don't know. There's a Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller said this one time, and he's very self-aware of these things. He says, if you've worked in the entertainment industry today, anyone who worked a regular job today worked harder than you.
I mean, it's just the truth. I'm sorry. It's not to say that she's not talented and it's not a good show and she doesn't deserve to be paid for it, but it was kind of like, are you really complaining about working 2 days a week? Do we really
Yeah.
have to go
And the
through
thing is,
this?
like, she did like Friday night gig for Adele. Okay. She didn't knock off work an hour early, and then she
Hmm.
didn't go home, get all the gear, put it in her car, drive to the venue, unload all the gear, set all
Yeah.
the gear up, sound check it, deal with the venue people in a Moose Lodge saying it was too loud, and then you play, for 3 hours or whatever, taking a 20-minute break, get offered greasy Moose Lodge food, and then at the end of the night, tear all the equipment down, put it back in your car, drive home at 1 a.m., and then repeat the next day.
Yeah.
No, she
Yeah.
she would have come out of her suite at Caesar's Palace. Someone would have escorted her to the backstage area, maybe 30 minutes before the show, into some massive dressing room area. She didn't have to sound check. She doesn't have to worry about any of the
I feel
equipment
like
or
we hit a
anything
sore
like
spot
that.
with Tim on this one, guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Saying you're burnt, I mean, saying you're bored of it, saying that you want to do something else is fine. Maybe you've done what you want to do in the world of music and you want to be away for a while. And,
Also, I feel like I just wouldn't just say that. I feel like I keep those words to myself. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't
it's
know.
it's fair to say that if you stepped out of Caesar's Palace and crossed the road, there's a Denny's across the road. Go and talk to somebody who works in there about being burnt out, who's working three jobs, got two kids at home, who's barely keeping their car on the road. That's burnt out. Adele, that is what you're talking about is not being burnt out.
There you go, guys. There's Tim's theory on Adele. All right, so moving along. I know. I thought it too while I was reading it. It kept making me think of the Good Charlotte song, like lifestyles of the rich and the famous. They're always complaining. That's all I could think. But anyway, so I have a bit of personal news, and then we'll actually get into the topic because we've been on a lot today already. So Wicked, the musical came out. I did go see it on Thursday night. For
Hmm.
those who don't know, I won't. I mean, it's hard for me to say spoiler alert because I'm not really going to spoil anything. I mean, I think this is a remake of a musical that's been out for a long time. So if you wanted to spoil it, it would have been spoiled back in 2002 or whatever it came out the first time.
Absolutely.
But I'll just give a little bit of kind of my analysis and what I thought of it. Now, I love Wicked. I love Wicked. And for those who don't know, Wicked is the villainess origin story of the Wicked Witch.
Hmm.
So you have Glinda, who was the good witch, and you've got Alphaba, who was the Wicked Witch. And Alphaba and Glinda went to school together. So when you go into Wicked's world, it starts with when the Wicked Witch died. She's no more, Dorothy, all that stuff, right? Wizard
Hmm.
of Oz. And so somebody asked Glinda, oh, how did you guys know each other? And then Glinda tells the story of how her and Alphaba went to school together and all this kind of stuff. And it really gives you a different kind of side to show that, it's not black and white, good or bad. There's a lot of grays here, and how people are defined and how they become who they are. So I loved it. Now, for those who don't know, there is no CGI in this version. Everything in that movie, which if you have seen any of the trailers, was hand built, and it is crazy, Tim. There's no CGI, and they sang all the music live as if it were a Broadway show. So, Cynthia, I can't think of her last name, who plays Alphaba, and then Aria Grande, who plays Glinda. And even if you don't like Aria Grande's music, say what you want. She is a fantastic singer. You can insult her all you want personally. I don't care. But her singing skills cannot be, but she's actually a really good actress too. Like
Hmm.
her acting skills are quite good. And she was an actress. She actually started on Broadway at like 13 or something. I don't know if a lot of people know that about Aria Grande, but she was originally a child actor on Broadway. And so, but it is absolutely fantastic. The music is perfect. The acting is perfect. They gave the story all the justice it needed. And this is just part one. There's going to be a part two, and it was almost 3 hours long. So to put in perspective, and this all goes back to the Oz, the book series. There's about a 13, I think it's 13 books worth of Oz books that started this whole world.
Hmm.
Alphaba is actually a play on the name of the original author. That's where Alphaba comes from. But yeah, so just so you guys know, if you love Wicked, if you love musicals, if you enjoy them, even if you don't, But I will say, do not go into this because I've seen some people thinking that they were going into like a lighthearted princess movie. No, there's a lot of social commentary. There's a lot of it's a good movie, and I think everybody should see it. But there is a lot of social commentary in it. So if you think I saw a lady who brought her children thinking she was going to a princess movie, it is not that. And that's all I'm going to say. It's not that. I mean, it's not, there's nothing like overtly bad or like, inappropriate, but it does have a lot of like political and social commentary throughout the movie. It's pretty obvious if you have a brain.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on Broadway. I saw it with my mum when I took my mum to New York City. And I mean, it is a great musical. I like the fact that all the sets are real and everyone is singing live on set. That's very interesting. I mean, as we've discussed many times before, I don't like really the art form of cinema. I don't really get a lot of joy out of watching films. And very occasionally I get exposed to modern filmmaking. And it really looks like a cartoon to me because it's like physics that defies logic that just doesn't work. It's like some car flips in the air and it's like that doesn't even respect the laws of gravity.
Everything explodes, even though that's not how any of that works.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you do, so all the films I like were made in the 70s and 80s and everything is practical. So to have something like that where everything is practical effects and practical sets, I think that's very refreshing.
It is. And what's so interesting, and this is such a small detail that I find super interesting, is the work that went into, because like the sets are so like hugely scaled, and like even the clothing, like they had hand people like making all the clothing for all of the Munchkin people and the Oz people and Glinda and blah, 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 right? And so what's super interesting is when Glinda and Elphaba end up going to Shiz, the school, and Glinda's outfit, so like in the school, they all have like school uniforms, right? But Glinda and Elphaba never quite wear the school uniform. Like it's similar, but they have like, they let them kind of like, it's coded, they get to wear what they want or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But there's stripes, right? There's stripes on the school outfit. Well, if you look at Glinda's are very straight and narrow. All the stripes match up. She stays in row. She stays in line. Whereas Elphaba's, she has the stripes, like she's trying to fit into him, but they don't quite, the seams are off. They don't match up. So while she is trying to fit in, she's a little bit different. And all those little Easter eggs, if that makes sense, are what is so cool. And if you really like the story, those little pieces, they did a great job of like hitting all those little things. I know that sounds very small, but if you know the story, then that would make sense. Because she does, the whole point is about caring about fitting in, but caring about fitting in as long as, you know what I mean, for the right reasons.
Sure.
And so, but yeah, that's just a little detail. And if you go watch it, see what I mean? They do like such a good job on all those little pieces. And somebody hand did that. That was purposely. You can't tell me that wasn't purposeful. There you go. There's my little piece. And so if you haven't seen it, go see it. You may cry. It's okay if you cry. I didn't cry. Molly cried. I stopped myself from crying, but Molly cried. And did not sing in the theater. They do, just so you guys know, don't go in there expecting to sing because that's rude to everybody else around you. They're doing a special showing where if you want to sing along, you can. But if you go to the theater, don't sing along.
There we are. We all appreciate the pro tip.
There you go. All right. Well, I will let Tim take it from here with his topic.
Okay, so this week's topic maybe is a little bit of an unusual one for me. So I have been doing the 1001 Albums Challenge with our listener, Megan, and I've been doing it for about 3 years now, I think. It seems like forever I've been doing this. And we've gone through many genres of music. And in the sort of, we've gone from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and sort of during the 70s, it was all punk bands. But now in the 80s, it appears to be there's a lot of rap and hip hop music because a lot of that music had its origins in the 80s, especially into the late 80s and the early 90s. And as we've discussed before, rap and hip hop music is not something which I really enjoy to listen to. There's maybe a couple of tracks that I would maybe like and some that I would tolerate, but it's not a genre of music that I particularly enjoy. Many years ago, when I was much younger, I might have listened to it. And I think I even had some albums and tapes at the time. But, you know, now I hear it and it's just like, I don't want to listen to this. This sounds bad to me. It really does.
There's a South Park episode where it talks about the older you get, how you stop hearing music. It just sounds like a word I can't use on the podcast.
Yeah, but my horizons have broadened, and thanks to now I'm embracing the Spotify and the fact I've always had a very large music collection.
Yeah.
The things I like is quite broad. I mean, it's not new stuff, but the genres are quite broad. I'd maybe listen to some jazz, and I'd maybe listen to some, I don't know, bebop or something. But it's just rap. It just when it starts, it's just like, goodness me, I just don't want to listen to this.
I mean, at least you're honest.
Yeah, I know what I like, and it's fine. But anyhow, I decided, despite everything I just said, it was going to be let's try and redress the balance. Let's try and find some 80s, obviously, era that I understand and enjoy, 80s rap and hip hop songs, which I'm familiar with.
Okay.
So that's what this week's episode is: 80s rap and hip hop songs that I am familiar with. Some of them I like, maybe. Some of them I've heard of, but all of them in this list, I'm familiar with those songs. Now, because it was like 80s rap and hip hop, I did share the list with Joy earlier on in the week. So normally we don't share or collaborate with this stuff, but given there might be some songs that I would have been familiar with in the early 80s that Joy may not have been familiar with, I thought, well, let's give her the list. She can have a listen to them and make some notes and what have you.
To be fair, I knew most of them. There was about 3 or 4 songs I wasn't familiar with towards the end, maybe 4 or 5 at the most. It started out pretty familiar to me. And actually, I have the list up on my playlist on my Spotify right now, so I can just see it as we're going through. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the songs have the little green check mark that indicates Joy is like this song.
Okay.
For reference, there you go.
Well, there we are. Well, I'm not going to go in the order of the playlist that I gave you. I'm just going to start picking them out at random. So the first one I'm going to go to is Salt and Pepper from the album Hot, Cool, and Vicious. And that would be the song Push It.
Which I'm very familiar with. Now, this song has a weird memory for me because of Glee. So I love everything Salt Pepper. I even like their version of Twist and Shout. They do kind of more of like the Beatles version of Twist and Shout, which I like. If you've never heard it, it's fantastic. But the song specifically, Push It. So in one of the Glee episodes, and I can't remember what it was, they performed this song at like a school event, which in and of itself is hilarious because that would never happen, right, Tim? But the teacher gets on stage and starts performing, and everybody's like, I feel like this is a bad. It just like, and of course the whole meaning was like, what are you doing? Like, did you have a brain aneurysm? Why are you on stage and why are we performing this? But that was the funny part about Glee. Like, who in their right mind would approve that for a school function anyway? But for some reason, I think of that scene every time I think of this song now.
Exactly. And a trivia question for you, Joy. What is the name of the DJ with Salt and Pepper?
I don't know.
That would be Spinderella.
Oh, I did know that. Now I'm embarrassed. I totally have heard that before. For some reason, all my brain kept thinking it was DJ Jazzy Jeff, and I knew that wasn't right.
Now,
but I've definitely heard Spinderella before.
Now, they were very much pioneers because they were an all-female hip-hop rap outfit, and including their DJ.
And now they're like, do Christian music.
Do they really?
Yeah. At least one of them is like a big Christian singer now.
I'd like to think it's Spinderella.
I'll take your word for it. I really don't know which one. I just know they're super into Christian music now.
Well, good luck to you, Salt Pepper.
I don't mean that as an insult. That's just what they do.
Yeah, good luck to you, Salt Pepper and Spinderella.
But I love all things Salt and Pepper. So this one's a 10 out of 10 for me.
There we are. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. This is from the album Raising Hell. This is Run DMC, and this is the song It's Tricky.
Now, this one is one that I know every lyric to. I could sing this from beginning to end right now if I had to. The song lives rent-free in my head. I think I've heard it 1,000 times, a million times, a bajillion times. I don't know. It's been used in every movie since the beginning of time. So I guess that's my analysis on It's Tricky.
Now, the interesting thing about It's Tricky, the video for It's Tricky, has Penn Jillette in it.
I knew you were going to make that reference. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, and I listened to Penn Jillette's podcast, and his daughter at her school had an '80s party, and
Hmm.
it's like a father and daughter dance at an '80s party, and his daughter was saying, "Well, you have to wear something appropriate from like an '80s attire because all the dads are going to be wearing '80s stuff," and he's like, "Well, I have the outfit I wore in the It's Tricky video. Does that count?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, can't you just wear something that's got day glow on it, Dad?"
Well, I find it funny whenever like you see like people doing like a 90s or an 80s party and they always pick like the most stereotypical things. And you're
Hmm.
like, that's really not what we were actually wearing. But I guess you think everybody in the 80s was dressed like a highlighter. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, if I was gonna go to an '80s party, I mean, the first choice, of course, would be David Hasselhoff, and and I've dressed like that before for like a fancy dress party, if you will. But I think I would probably dress like Don Johnson from Miami Vice, Sonny Crockett.
The last time I went to an 80s party, I just looked like I was going to a Poison concert because my hair is already big enough anyway. So I just really leaned into it, Tim. I looked like a girl going to a Poison concert.
Well,
Really went for the big hair.
as you know, I watch a lot of '80s wrestling, and when
Yeah.
they show crowd shots, I don't know, that just seems very normal to me. When you see like women out there with their big poofy perm hair that's this big,
Hmm.
people wearing like '80s clothes, it's just like this is so familiar to me. This is perfect. Why do things have to change?
Nothing. Why do things? You know what's so weird you say that? So I was listening to a podcast the other day. No, it wasn't a podcast. I was listening to a YouTube video. And it was actually on The Wizard of Oz, right? And
Hmm.
it was because I was getting ready to go watch Wicked. And this was like a historical, like just different things about the filming of The Wizard of Oz. And she said something that struck me as really odd. She was talking about that during when they were like producing the movie and putting it out, the people were very nostalgic to the pre Great Depression years, right? Like they were
Hmm.
nostalgic for that feeling. And in my brain, it kind of stopped me for a minute because I was like, that seems so weird for me to think that somebody in the 1930s was nostalgic, right? Because I'm so far into the future now. And I'm like, but they didn't know anything past the 1930s. So of course they were nostalgic for it. So I hadn't really thought about people from other genres. You know what I mean? To being nostalgic for the things before them.
Yeah, I mean, I was having this discussion with someone the other day. So, like, when I was growing up, my parents were nostalgic for the '60s. Everything was better in the '60s. The music, the fashions, everything. Being in
We
the
all think
'60s,
that.
yeah, being in the '60s is the best thing. But I'm however many years older than my parents, and I'm nostalgic from the '80s. And for me, the fashions and the music
The
and the
90s for
technology and
me.
all this stuff. So people who are 20 years younger than me or 20 years older than me, they all have different nostalgia things that they like.
I will say, I always try to remind myself that the good old days weren't always so good and tomorrow isn't as bad as it seems. That Billy Joel line, I think about that every time I get too far back into nostalgia. I remind myself that maybe the good old days, because we always see the good, right, Tim? And there were not great stuff happening at that time, too.
No,
But
true.
it was just interesting to think about. Of course, we could get into, but I'm not going to. And I know Tim knows that Joy could talk about this for ages, that time isn't linear and it's all a construct. But it was just weird for me to think about someone from the 1930s being nostalgic because I'm all the way so far into the future from them that was a
Sure.
strange thing for me. This literally has nothing to do with the song, by the way. I don't even know how I got here. All right, what's the next one you're going to pick, Tim?
Okay, so this one, this is maybe one that you probably hadn't even heard of, and this is from the very well sort of late '80s, I suppose, maybe mid '80s. This is Doug E. Fresh and The Show. Now, you ever heard that before?
I have, but I wouldn't have recognized it. So I'm pretty sure I've heard it. Like I think I've heard it before, but I wouldn't be able to pick it out by anything else. Um, Now, this is the one where he's talking about like they're getting ready to do a show, right? They're like having a conversation back and forth about doing a show.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like stuck out. But you know what really stuck out to me is the melody is the thing from Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, it has the melody from Inspector Gadget. It has a sample of Inspector Gadget in this song.
And then there's a verse from the Beatles, Michelle, or something like that. He makes a reference to something about the verse from Michelle from the Beatles in the song.
Yeah. Now, I have a very distinct memory of this song because this was a big chart hit in the UK when it came out. And I was at Lambton School at the time. And people loved this song. A lot of people who I went to school with loved this song. And I said it was on the charts that you'd hear every Sunday night. And I think I even had a cassette copy of it. Somebody either had the album or somebody recorded the song for me. And I don't know, I used to like it. It was sort of quirky and weird, especially with the Inspector Gadget thing in there.
That's what I liked about it too when I was listening to it.
Yeah, and when I listen to this song, even now, because I listened to all these songs before we recorded, it takes me back to exactly that time. I can almost pinpoint the exact time. I remember sitting outside my classroom, which was because the form I was in would change with the year, so like 1N, 2N, 3N. I think I was in 3N at that point, and I remember being outside the classroom, and that I don't know, it just takes me right back there.
Well, there you go. All I could think of was Inspector Gadget. I don't have any memories of it, but I do think I've heard this. And I know that the Dougie Fresh and MC Ricky D is Slick Rick. I do know Slick Rick because Slick Rick is in a bunch of songs, and then a lot of his music has been sampled for years. Like he's known in like the rap world as being, one of those people that they like kind of look up to. So it makes sense. I don't know a whole lot about who Doug E. Fresh is, but
the question I have for you, Slick Rick, if his name was Peter, would he be called Slick Peter?
I don't know. I have a feeling his real name isn't Rick. I could be wrong. I still love the Family Guy episode. You're going to tell me her name's Alicia Keys and she plays the piano? That can't be her real name. No, I want to be Johnny Guitar. I don't know why, but every time, is his real name? I don't know. I actually have no clue.
I've just looked up Slick Rick is Richard Martin Lloyd Walters. So he is a Rick.
It sounds like he should be working with Andrew Lloyd Webber with a name like that.
Yeah. He also goes under the name of Rick the Ruler and MC Ricky D.
Yeah. I know a little bit about him because he's just kind of famous in the hip hop world.
Well, there we
go. I don't know like very much, but I just know he's like known in the hip hop world.
There we are. Well, we celebrate and salute you.
Somebody's yelling at us for not knowing more. I can't believe you didn't know blah, blah.
Yeah, we celebrate and salute you, Slick Rick. This is the only piece of art that we know of yours, but I'm glad that you've had a successful career.
And you probably have a lot more money than I do, if you're still alive. I'm assuming you are.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yay.
Mr. Walters is 59 years old.
Okay, wonderful. All right, what's the next song?
Okay, so this one, let's go with this. So this is an unusual one. It's not so much rap, it's probably more the origins of hip hop. This is Herbie Hancock and the song Rocket. Is this a song that you was familiar with?
Absolutely not. This one, I have no idea what I was listening to be honest. Like, I heard it, but I don't know what I was listening to. Because it's kind of like, is it like instrumental?
It is. I mean, Herbie Hancock was like a jazz fusion artist who'd been sort of in the 60s and 70s. He was very familiar for being in that kind of jazz kind of thing. And then when he got into the 80s, he released some kind of electronic music.
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounded like to me. I was like, I'm not really sure what's happening.
And Rocket was maybe one of the first sort of examples of that kind of hip hop, electronic, electro
synthetic kind of new wave
crossover type stuff. Very famous on MTV. Now, did you see the video for it, or did you just listen to it?
I just listened to it on the Spotify's on the little list you gave me, Tim. Oh, okay. So you'll have to fill me in. Well,
the video it uses that kind of jump cut, that kind of stutter jump cut thing that was very popular for a time, and it also has like robotics type things in the video, and it's very iconic. It's something that they played on MTV in heavy rotation when it was first out.
Must have been a UK thing. I mean, to be fair, it's not like I was watching MTV on heavy rotation when it first came out, but it doesn't ring a bell to me in any way.
Yeah.
Of course, those who don't know this, a lot of our music that started MTV was actually from Europe because they had embraced the music video long before Americans did.
Absolutely, because of Top of the Pops most of the time.
Yep, there you go. There's your fact. One day we'll get that through everybody's head. I think we've said it about 1,000 times on the podcast. Somebody's going to win Jeopardy, and it's going to be because of us. Or we're going to lead them astray, and they're going to lose Jeopardy. Could go either way. All right, what's the next song?
All right, so this one I like. And this is a song that I actually like. This is the
Okay.
Sugar Hill Gang, and this is the song "Rapper's Delight."
Which everybody knows. I can sing from beginning. Now, there's different versions of this one. Do you have a preference for just the original, Tim? Because there are
Absolutely.
like different rap versions of
Yeah, the
this.
one I like goes a hip hop, hippie to the hippie, the hip hopper don't stop. Bang bang up jump the boogie because the boogie don't rock. Now what we see is not a test. I'm rapping to the
Rapping to
beat,
the
and
beat.
me and my friends are going to try and move your feet. Now I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Back to the purple, yellow.
yeah.
I know. I'm very familiar with it. So I love this song. I mean, Sugar Hill Game, this is literally known as like the first song, rap song ever written, right? It's generally known that. Um, it has been sampled in probably like 400 other songs by now.
Probably at least.
I don't know how many other persons. And I know Rolling Stones, when we were doing that greatest hits of all time, this was one of the 500 greatest greatest songs of all time.
Mhm.
So, but to be fair, in the world of rap, this is a very lighthearted rap, which makes sense why. I mean, at one point they're talking about eating food that doesn't taste good. So
Yeah, I mean the full length version of this song is 7 minutes and 7 seconds long. The of course it's not even a sample. Now it's a replay of the song "Good Times" by Chic. However, the Sugar Hill Gang are playing that backing track live. These days, you would just sample the original and then just play it on a loop on a sampler. This they have a band playing that, and apparently the bass and the drums, and I think even maybe the guitar, but certainly the bass and the drums played the whole thing live for the whole 7 minutes. And the guy who was playing bass, he said by the time we got to minute 5, he had a cramp in his hand, but the take had been so good, and he was working through the pain, so he didn't have to re-record it or do a drop in or anything. And he said he got to the end of the song and he could barely move his fingers.
So it's so interesting you say that because I actually know a little bit of me trivia from this one because I've done like this is a song I've kind of listened to a few times. There's a story that Nile Rodgers was with Debbie Harry, which I find very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I just don't associate those two together, but they were. And she invited him to this event. And actually, they were playing "Good Times,"
Mm-hmm.
and a bunch of the members of the Sugar Hill Gang like popped up on stage and started rapping to it, and that was the start of this.
Oh wow.
And so that was like basically that day they kind of Rogers worked with I don't know the members of the band, and that's how the Sugar Hill Gang. That's how the song came out. Was literally them rapping over "Good Times" at an event that Nile Rodgers was at with randomly Debbie Harry. I don't know why, but.
I mean, Debbie Harry once spent quality time with Penn Jillette. So everything like just connects.
But what's so weird about it, though, is at one point in time, apparently Nile Rodgers says he hated the song, but then later admitted that he loved it. So take it with a grain of salt if this is an accurate depiction of what happened. That's just what I've heard. I've heard that theory. I might have learned that on my pop-up music video, but I think it was when I was watching, there's like a Netflix thing where they were going through like the history of hip hop or something. I watch a lot of those guys, so couldn't
There
cover
we are.
any of
Well,
it.
well, I'm sure Nile Rodgers enjoyed the royalty payments when they came in.
He's credited on it, and it sounds like he enjoyed it, but then it kind of like maybe it's because it took from his initial song and people didn't realize it. You never know. I always find it funny when someone has a beef with Weird Al, because in my mind, I feel like it's a compliment if you get like if Weird Al does a version of your song. You know what I mean? Ted, like I feel like you've really made it when Weird Al does a version of your song. But then I also think if the song was really personal to you, I see how it could bother you a little bit. But I don't know. For me, it's like that's when I know I've made it if Weird Al does a version of my song.
Yeah, like we have the song by Frequency, "Another Day." I mean, if Weird Al wants to do it in the voice of it's sort of a voice of a horse, call it "I Eat More Hay" or something. I don't know. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
You need to do a version of that now. I eat more hate. And that was pretty good. Tim might be a parody artist. You never know, guys.
There we are.
That's funny. All right. Well, what's our next song?
Okay, so this song, I've sort of stepped slightly outside of the 1980s by 2 years, but I figured
Okay.
as we're talking about all this kind of stuff, it would be fine. I thought you wouldn't mind if I broke the rules a little bit.
I didn't know, so good to know.
There we are. So this is "Baby's Got Back" by Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Well, Baby Got Back is another one that Joy knows every lyric to. She has a strong epitome of knowing all of the song. Like it's part of my DNA. It's part of my culture.
Hmm.
I've rapped this song many times in my life. Obviously, I have mad rap skills, as you guys can tell by the way I speak, and words are never hard for me. But no, I love this song. I mean, I guess I probably knew it was the 80s, but I didn't pick up on it when I was listening.
Yeah, it's just outside the 80s. I'd like to think that Mr. Sir Mix-a-Lot maybe had the genesis of this song in the 1980s.
I mean, to be fair, it does kind of sound like it could have came out of the 1980s, so it fits. But I can't think of a more iconic kind of like song in hip hop history, though.
Hmm.
Like if you're talking about like songs that built what modern day hip hop is, I would say "Baby Got Back" is right up there.
Well, the thing is, it has a novelty aspect to it, which means it sort of steps outside the genre of hip hop and rap because people who don't necessarily like that kind of music or into it maybe would like Baby's Got Back or would have heard it because it has that novelty aspect.
You mean to tell me when he says call 1-900-Mix-a-Lot that was a parody, Tim? He didn't want you to actually call him. Oh my God. Now I've got Sir Mix-a-Lot stuck in my head. I'll have it in my head for the next 7 weeks. But yes, this song is a very formative song for me. I can think of many times in my life where this song has played. Like this song brings me back for me as like a high schooler. No, it's not even a joke, Tim. Like this was one of those songs that I swear at every event I went to when I was in high school, at some point in time, it came on. So there you go. It's a formative track for me. Baby Got Back. Also, if you want to hear those rapping skills, let me know, everybody. I know you're all dying.
People out there in podcast world cannot wait for your reading of Baby's Got Back.
I mean, there's a few. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 songs on this playlist, Tim. I can sing from beginning to end. All right, what's the next one?
All right, so this one is Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, or as they say in the UK, DJ EZ Rock, and It Takes Two.
This is one of the other ones that I can see from getting it. But also, It Takes Two. It's been used in like TV commercials, everything. I've heard this song probably at least 1 billion times in my life, if not more.
Yeah, I remember this being out again when I was at school. I had a 7-inch single of this song. And I used to go to a car boot sale at Hounslow West Tube Station car park. And there was somebody there that used to sell singles, but not in their sleeves. They were just like loose. And they were all sort of songs that were reasonably new. They must have come from a jukebox or something like that. I don't know.
I'm sure.
And I had a 7-inch single of this, and it was incredibly dirty, as in it needed cleaning. And I remember my friend's brother telling me that probably won't play. But I took it home and I washed it, and it was fine.
I mean, it worked, right? There you go.
It is. And this is a song that's got that sample in that goes, Jack, woo, Jack, woo. And they use that in other songs that I've heard. It's not just unique to this one. I don't know if this is the origins for that particular sample.
I would think it was, though, but I know exactly what you're talking about, which is a sample. And then I think that this song samples another song, doesn't it?
It probably does.
There's some like song from the 70s or something that a piece of it is sampled from, but I don't know the origins. If you hold on, let's Google it. There's something that this song is built off of. Hold on 1 second. Google it live on air, everybody. It's official. Takes Two. All right. The song was produced by Rob, DJ. Okay, here we go. The song was produced by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, which we know. William Hamilton built around the Yeah Woo sample. There you go, Tim. And other elements from Lynn Collins' 1972 song Think About It. Rhonda Paris was brought in by Profile Records to sing the hook. The song sampled in November 1989 by a group, The Seduction, and their song To Make It Right. So it's been sampled. So it not only was a sample from this Lynn Collins song, it was also sampled in another song called To Make It Right. So there you go. And it was used in a Black Eyed Peas song in their hit Rock That Body. So it's been sampled twice itself.
Interesting.
I don't know who Lynn Collins is or the song Think About It. I mean, maybe I do, but I can't recognize it by just reading it. But the Yahoo sample, let's see, Tim, is a drum break, popular use in popular music. Oh, it comes from Lynn Collins was the first one to use it. That's where that
Okay.
comes from. There you go, Tim.
There we
I
are.
don't.
Pioneers, Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, from using that sample, which has been used so much since.
I know. Who knew? I mean, it doesn't surprise me because I mean, there's like 1,000 commercials where it's a movie about two people having to do something, and the song's playing in the background.
Hmm.
All right, what's next?
Okay, so I'm going with a novelty hit this time. This is a novelty hit which I had on 7-inch single. I bought it when it came out. I bought
Okay.
it from Woolworths in Hounslow. And I can even remember what the cover looked like. And this is a cover of the song Wipeout, which is by the Fat Boys and the Beach Boys. Have you ever heard
Yeah.
that before?
Yes. Unfortunately, not my favorite. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I know it was like two guys. And I think, don't quote me if I'm wrong. They either like opened for or they were connected with Biz Markie, the singer. So I think I'd make that connection. But this version is very interesting. But I thought it was funny that the Beach Boys are literally so they're credited like as one of the people in like it's by the Fat Boys and the
The
Beach
Beach Boys.
Boys. It's not even just a sample; like they're part of it.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know
I
why.
remember their logo being on the cover of the 7-inch single jacket.
How many of the actual Beach Boys were alive when they did this?
Probably two or three. And they also, in that collaboration, they also did a version of the Twist as well.
Of course they did. I mean, that's not that far off. Wait, you're saying they did the twist with the Fat Boys?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, never mind. I can see the Beach Boys doing it, but I don't know how I feel about the Fat Boys doing it with them. But it is funny you say this because, of course, I went down, like, I don't know much about these. Like, I kind of just went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and looked up a few things. And one thing stood out to me about this. I thought for sure, we talk about Swedish pop. I was like, oh, it's going to be Sweden. It was Swiss-born producer. So this one came from Switzerland, Tim.
Ah, the home of the Toblerone.
There you go. I love Toblerone, by the way.
I like Toblerone. Do you know what the kind of Toblerone I like? Is the stuff you used to get in the airport where it was about 7 feet long. Do you remember those?
The big ones, yeah. I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about. I just love the breaking off the chocolate. Like it's like the perfect little size. And what makes the
exactly.
little anyway.
What I would do is I'd stuff my mouth full of Toblerone and then I'd drive to Dundee in my bare feet.
I'll take your word for it. Sounds right.
That's an Alan Partridge reference.
Of
Aha.
course it is. I should have known. I probably could guess it by now, even if I don't know. But I will say, I was like, oh, it's going to be, I was like, oh, Swiss. That doesn't happen much. I don't really think about people from Switzerland with rap music. That's probably stereotyping, but it doesn't come to mind. But I do love their chocolate.
That's good. Well, I'm glad we've covered that one off.
And when I went through the Swiss Alps, I was dreaming on a train that I was going to explode, and then the train had to stop, and I thought it really did explode. That happened to me, Tim.
There we are. I went to Switzerland many, many years ago, went to Zurich and went up on some excursion that took us up the side of a mountain to like some kind of skiing lodge that was at a very high elevation. And I remember not so much altitude sickness, but I remember walking up a few flights of stairs and feeling very out of
It's hard to
breath.
breathe.
Yeah, it was, I don't think I'd ever been that sort of at a high altitude before.
I mean, to be fair, I've never really spent any time in Switzerland. I just went through the Swiss Alps because I took a train. That's about it. So I don't know too much, but I imagine the higher I do know elevation makes it hard to breathe. That's one thing people don't realize when it comes to like when people like hike like these really, really tall mountains is some of it isn't just the physical like toll your body takes, right, Tim? Like your legs and your arms and stuff get tired. Like it's hard to breathe.
Hmm.
Like I don't know. I don't think I would actively do it. I hate hiking. I'm just gonna say it. I'd rather do anything but hike.
Joy, the amount of injuries you have, the problem with hiking is you're going to be so far away from people. That's not good for you.
My favorite story is how me and Molly became friends because I fell while we were hiking. Do you not remember that,
Yeah,
Tim?
you remember you telling me that.
But to be honest, even if I wasn't clumsy, I don't enjoy hiking. You do why? Why would you actively want to climb the mountain? I
Well,
don't have any interest in climbing the mountain, Tim.
I'm sure if you speak to somebody who's super into that, they will tell you because it's there. But if you don't enjoy it, that's fine.
Don't invite me to go hiking, everyone. I don't want to go hiking. And I really, as I get older, I don't want to go camping either, Tim. Why sleep on the ground?
Yeah, I'm done with camping. I've been camping 2 or 3 times in my life.
It's never that fun.
No, do you know what's better than that? Pulling up your car, reclining the seat back, and taking the duvet off your bed. That's much, much better.
And I've done that before. And I'd
Yeah.
much rather do that. But like now I think about this often. This is a very specific memory tip. But when I was in high school, we may have done things that teenagers do that, wasn't always what our family thought we were doing in the moment. But anyway, I distinctly remember falling asleep on a wooden porch one time. I
Hmm.
slept overnight on a wooden porch, no blanket, no pillow, literally three of us asleep on a wooden old country house porch. Now I can't go to sleep without the fan on. The idea of sleeping on a floor actually makes my back cringe. Like I could never. So why am I going to go put out a tent and go sleep on the ground?
Yeah, well, that's an age thing. I remember sleeping over at people's houses on the
Hmm.
floor with a pillow. It was fine.
Well, and did you know when your friend forgets to give you a blanket, you're freezing in the middle of the night, so you just pick up anything, Tim, and you're like,
Yeah, and that was fine. But like now, I'm with you. I'm not super particular, but yeah, I'm with you.
there you go. Okay. Well, now that we sound 1,000, Tim spent 20 minutes talking about his anti hip hop, and I can't sleep on the ground. What's next? All this episode is telling everybody is that we're old.
Well, this is a song I had heard before, but it came up on the album challenge. And this
Okay.
is LL Cool J and Mama Said Knock You Out.
LL Cool J is one of those people that like I kind of forget he exists, but I have a very distinct memory of him, and it's not for his music. He hosted that lip sync show for the longest time.
Hmm.
And that is the only thing. I mean, I've heard his rap career, but to be fair and to be frank, I only know of him having like 2 hits. I feel like he wasn't necessarily a one hit wonder, but I don't feel like he had that many hits. I think he became more of like a TV personality than a singer.
Yeah, he has quite the range with his talents. Like you say, he's a notable actor. He's been in TV, he's been in
Mhm.
film, and he also fronts a metal band called Body Count.
Oh, I've heard of that actually. Now that you said that, that does ring a bell. That's interesting. But to be fair, I think he has a nice voice. Like, I don't think he has a bad voice. I feel like I know him more from outside of music than inside music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and his name is Coco.
Okay.
I do know that.
Wait, no, isn't that Ice-T's wife?
No, I think it's LL Cool J's. Let me. I could be completely wrong. Let's just have a look.
Or what is
LL
ICT?
Cool J.
Because
What?
Coco the blonde, they have a baby. She's on social media.
Um, I got that completely wrong. I know nothing about hip hop. It's actually
It's
Simone
Ice-T or
Simone Smith.
Ice-T or Ice Cube? Which one is it? I think
Oh, I
it's
don't.
Ice-T's wife is married to Coco.
Ah,
Yeah, Ice-T, Tim. It's Ice-T. It's Coco Austin. It's his wife. There
yeah.
you go.
I'm
I
getting
win
my
this one.
I'm getting my rap spouses mixed up.
Well, at least we corrected it before someone did really go fail on Jeopardy because of that.
Well, as you know, I'm no expert in this. Now, if we was talking
Nah.
about what brand and gauge guitar strings Brian May played in the late '70s, I could tell you that. This is something I'm just bubbling at the surface of this topic. So
Now, the LL Cool J song, we should, if you haven't heard it, I like his Christmas song, Rock the Bells.
I've never heard that.
He has a Christmas song called Rock the Bells. And because, he was on Def Jam Records. And so, but yeah, when you have a second, as we're going into the holiday season, Tim, give Rock the Bells a listen.
I will do. I'll listen to it once, and I won't add it to my Christmas playlist.
Or something will happen and it'll show up on Tim's end of the year. Have the raps came out yet? Has your end of the year rap came out? Because YouTube was telling me what mine was on there, but I want to see what my Spotify is.
Yeah, it must be coming up soon. They normally publish them about now because they do it before the Christmas season kicks in because they
Yeah.
don't want to have the Christmas and other end of year celebration stuff in the Wrapped. They want it to be completely separate from that. It must be soon. I mean,
It's got to be. Now, I did this thing recently where you could see like what your lineup would be for a concert based off of your music. I sent it to Tim, and sadly, mine was overran with Harry Styles, as we've explained about 1,000 times over. And then I listen to lo-fi when I work. I need that stimulation of the music, but sometimes if it's like I'm doing payroll or something that requires like actual processing in my brain, you know what I mean? It's not just kind of clicking. I can't listen to music that distracts me, so I listen to lo-fi. So like 70% of the artists on that little thing that I did where you pick your lineup was lo-fi. So I'm kind of worried my rap is just going to be a bunch of lo-fi artists that no one knows mixed with Michelle's Sanctuary that I go to sleep with. Another reason why I can't sleep on porches, Tim, I can't listen to my sleeping stories. Which Charlie hates all the time. And he's like, I really hate those things. But I'm like, I need them.
I need them to sleep. Well, I just researched it. So last year's Spotify Wrapped came out on November the 29th. In 2022, it came out on November 30th, and in 2021 and 2020, it was released on December 1st.
So it's going to be this week, probably.
Yeah, it's probably going to be this week. It's going to be very exciting. I will be doing another Spotify Wrapped episode, and I hope you get your Wrap this year.
I better. I've been listening to. I have turned a leaf, and I have listened to mostly all Spotify because I do listen to some YouTube because I have YouTube Premium. But usually, when I listen to YouTube, I'm actually watching YouTube videos, or I'm like, you told me to look up one song, and I just go to my browser and click it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Spotify is where I listen to my music daily.
Yeah, I mean, we have YouTube Premium. Hannah uses the music piece. I don't use the music piece, but we share the video part of YouTube. Like on our TV, we're signed in with the same
It's
account.
unwatchable if you don't have Premium. There's too many commercials.
Completely unwatchable.
I literally I forgot to update it when my credit card like ended a few months back or whatever, Tim. And so I went to sign on and I'm like, what are these commercials? What has happened? And I had to update my card and I was like, I like for like 10 minutes, I'm like, how are people watching this without paying?
I mean, if you watch a YouTube video once in a blue moon, if someone sends you a link and then you have to sit through a minute commercial, maybe. But if there's anything you like on there, it's completely unwatchable.
I almost watch YouTube more than any like TV shows. Like I get a lot of my media from YouTube. I watch a lot of because I'm into like documentaries and like things like that. Or I have a lot of food like people like to like watch for recipes and things like that. And so for me, like YouTube is a must. Like that's probably my number one media thing that I watch. So there's no way I could function. I'm sorry, Google, take my money.
Absolutely. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive.
No. Not at all. It's not more expensive than anything than actual TV. But the thing about it is I was just like, it's just one commercial after the other, after the other, after the like they make you watch like 7 commercials for a 2-minute video.
Oh, it's absolutely absurd. I mean, I will tell you, it does offend me that I'm still paying for Peacock to watch wrestling. I really don't like paying that $15 a month for that. But I mean, there's so much content that I want to finish. And once I've seen it all, I will cancel it. But I don't know, the fact that I subscribe to a streaming service, I don't like that. But YouTube is good value for money.
There you go. All right. Well, I have no idea how much time we have left on this episode, but keep going, Tim.
Okay. Well, I think we've got time for one more song.
One more song. Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to go with, where are we? Young MC, and it's Bust a Move.
Which is one of the other songs on here. I know every word to. I am an avid fan of most of the songs Tim put on this pod. Tim, you nailed the actual rap music that I listened to with this pick because as soon as I saw it, Tim was like, listen to the ones that you don't know. And I'm like, well, I know that one. I know that one. You know what I mean? And while we didn't hit on it, I'm going to throw another one out there. Wild Thing was another one Tim put on there, which, that's classic as well.
Yeah, so, Tone Loc.
There you go. I mean, I think this is another song I've heard about, a bajillion times? Is that a number? Probably not.
Close enough.
You know, you know what is crazy though is so, and I understand that am poor in like the sense of I'm poor in the sense that like I'm not a millionaire. Like I can, afford most things and get by okay and yada yada, right, Tim?
Hmm.
But by millionaire standards, I'm nowhere as close. I'm not even a thousandaire if we're getting down to it. It's more like 100aire on a good day. But with that being said, I have zero concept since I said the bajillion thing, that's where my brain is going with this. Have you seen like a physical comparison of how small a million is to a billion?
Yeah.
Like physically seen it put in like a little diagram, and I realized very quickly because I am poor, I have no concept of how much bigger a billion is than a million.
Well, it's 1,000 million.
I know, but like physically, my brain can't comprehend it until I see it like in front of me. And then to go from a million to a trillion is like crazy.
Oh, it's ridiculous. You know, when they talk about these military budgets where the government is 42 trillion,
Trillions.
and it's like, it's absolutely absurd.
And you're just like, but it's just weird to me. But anyway, back to the song. But moral of the story is, guys, I have zero concept of how much more a trillion is than a billion and a billion is than a million until I physically see it on paper. So there, anyway, I digress. Back to the point of this, though, is I mean, it's a good song. I like it. I don't have much more to say. What would you like to say about it, Tim?
I remember there was a period of time in my life when I used to go to karaoke in the Red Lion pub in Twickenham, long before I ever played music there.
This is a karaoke
Yeah,
favorite.
and my friend Trevor Hearn used to go down there, and he used to do Bust a Move. That was his karaoke song.
I mean, bust it. I love Bust a Move. I will say, Brandy, my twin sister, she went through a period of time where she was obsessed with this song. For whatever reason, I have a distinct memory of her listening to this song on repeat. So shout out to Brandy who listens to the podcast, as you guys know. But I don't really know anything else from Young MC, to be honest. I don't know if it was a one-hit wonder. Don't come for me, internet. I'm really not sure.
I don't know. Young MC, how many albums does he have?
I was going
Oh,
to click his
yeah,
name on the Spotify.
Young MC has let's have a look, albums. He has 9 albums on Spotify. His famous album, which has Buster Move, is the 1989 release, Stone Cold
Cold
Rhymin'.
written.
However, the rest of his, well, actually, one of them is Stone Cold Rhyming Deluxe Edition. So he's only got 8 albums. But the rest of these album covers look like they were done on Photoshop in about
Yeah.
1995.
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe the one hit wonder. Take it with it. If you have a really keen love for Young MC out there, you keep doing you. We don't care. But I don't know. I mean, we don't care in the sense that like you like what you like. But I mean, I would say he was a one hit wonder.
Yeah, he has 1.2 million monthly listens on Spotify. Buster Move has had 145 million listens, and his next song has 23 million listens.
I've never even noticed at the top because I clicked his name too, where it shows the monthly listeners, Tim. I've never paid attention to that at the top. I always look at like the number of, like plays for the song. But there you go, guys. If you guys didn't know that, if you scroll up where it has all the little graphics, it tells you the monthly listeners.
Yeah, but it only works on the web version or the version that you have installed on your computer. The one you have on your phone or your tablet, it does not work.
Good to know. I definitely have it downloaded on my computer. I remember when it came out and like you could like listen to it inside the browser and then they were like, no more. And you had to get the app.
You can still do it in the browser. Yeah, sometimes at work, if I'm putting on some kind of event or part of some kind of event that
you do
we
it
put
that
on,
way?
I do it in the browser, so I don't want to install it on my work machine.
Well, there you go. I know that they were trying to push us all to the app though. But I remember back in the day, I used to listen to it on the web browser. Well, there you go. All
Look
right.
at you,
Well,
retro joy.
well, is there anything you would like to tell people about your newfound love of hip hop and rap music?
Not really. I said it is not really the kind of music I enjoy. The songs that we've listened to today and enjoyed today are ones I'm familiar with. But if you like rap and hip hop, enjoy your rap and hip hop and share it with your friends who love it too. But please don't send it my way because it's not my kind of music.
But Tim is also telling you it's okay to, I guess this episode was Tim's way of saying he's willing to seek outside of his normal and, experience new things.
There we are.
I guess.
That is exactly.
Be open-minded.
Absolutely, which is why I'm doing 1001 albums challenge. When I skimmed through the list when it was first mentioned, I saw it had a load of this towards the end, and I thought, well, in for a penny, in for a pound.
That's the most British thing you've ever said. All right, how do you want to live the people with?
Just be kind to everybody that you meet.
I agree. Bye.
Bye bye.
To remind me of another day to